Welcome, curious minds, to another deep dive. Today, we're jumping into some really thought-provoking worlds, ones that kind of reflect our deepest fears, our societal worries.
Yeah, really good.
If you're looking for a way to, get a handle on some powerful critiques of political ideas, authoritarianism, stuff like that, without wading through dense theory, well, you're in the right place.
Definitely.
Our mission today, a deep dive into 5, I think, incredibly relevant dystopian sci-fi novels. Some classics you'll definitely know, but there's a newer one in there too, a bit of a surprise.
Freaking.
Now look, selection is always subjective, right? But trust me, all 5 are absolutely worth exploring. What gets me is how these authors, sometimes decades apart, warn us about similar dangers, but in totally different ways.
It's fascinating, isn't it? Despite the varied settings and plots, the common thread is definitely there. They all dig into political ideas, criticize totalitarian or authoritarian setups, but each brings a unique lens, a different angle on what happens when things go wrong.
Exactly. So much to unpack. Let's dive in. First up, gotta be the big one. George Orwell's 1984.
The classic.
Yeah. And that idea of thought crime. Wow, it just gets under your skin. What makes it so terrifying in Orwell's world?
Well, 1984 presents this total system of control. Big Brother watching, ruling Airstrip 1, which used to be Britain.
Right, the constant surveillance.
Exactly. It's relentless. Telescreens everywhere, propaganda saturating everything. But what's really chilling, I think, is the manipulation of truth itself. Doublethink, yeah. Holding two contradictory beliefs at once. And they're constantly rewriting history, changing the past to fit the party's needs. Even language gets controlled with newspeak.
So thinking independently is literally a crime.
Precisely. Thought crime, the ultimate offense. What's so profoundly unsettling is that the control isn't just over your actions, it's over your perception, your thoughts, your reality. That's the core of it.
And Winston Smith, he's our way in, right?
Yeah.
He tries to push back.
He does. He's just a low-level party member, but he starts feeling utterly disillusioned. He tries desperately to find some shred of humanity, individuality, starts writing a secret diary.
Which is a huge act of rebellion there.
A massive act. And his relationship with Julia is part of that rebellion, too. He's fighting for his own inner life.
But it doesn't end well for him, does it?
No. It's pretty bleak. He and Julia are eventually caught by the thought police. And Winston goes through this horrific process in the Ministry of Love. It's not just torture, it's complete psychological destruction.
To make him love Big Brother.
Exactly. To break him so completely that he betrays everything he believed in, including Julia. He ends up totally submitted. So the warning from 1984. It's about surveillance, yes, but maybe even more about what happens when objective truth dissolves. When reality itself is controlled, freedom doesn't stand a chance.
Chilling stuff. Really makes you think. Okay, let's pivot. From that world of brute force and fear to something else, something maybe sneakier. Control through pleasure. Aldous Huxley's Brave New World.
Ah, yes. A fascinating counterpoint.
This is where it gets really interesting for me. Instead of fear, people are controlled by happiness, or at least the appearance of it.
Exactly. It's a stark contrast. Huxley imagines a world engineered for stability right from conception. Humans are basically manufactured in hatcheries, conditioned psychologically for specific roles in a rigid caste system.
Alphas, betas, epsilons, all that.
Right. Alphas at the top, epsilons doing the menial work, and things like family, deep emotions, real connections, they're seen as destabilizing, obsolete even. Individuality is pretty much engineered out.
So how do they keep everyone docile? If not through fear, then what? Constant fun.
Pretty much. Constant gratification, constant distraction. There's the drug, Soma.
Hey, Soma?
Yeah, offers instant happiness, no side effects, kills any negative feelings. And then there's just endless shallow entertainment, feelies, games, designed to keep people busy, stop them from thinking too deeply.
But someone must question it, right?
There are a couple of key characters. Bernard Marx, he's an alpha, but he feels different, like an outsider. He senses something's missing.
Okay.
And then there's John, the savage. He grew up outside this system, in a reservation where old ways, like reading Shakespeare, still exist.
Whoa. So he brings an outside perspective.
Exactly. And when he's brought into the world state, he's horrified by what he sees. The lack of meaning, the superficiality. He wants real feelings, passion, even suffering, everything this society has eliminated. His story is ultimately tragic. He can't reconcile the two worlds.
So Huxley's warning is different. It's about
Ugh.
Losing our humanity for comfort.
Precisely. It's a critique of hedonism, consumerism, and maybe the loss of human dignity when everything deep is sacrificed for stability and pleasure. It raises that really uncomfortable question. What might we willingly trade away for an easy, comfortable life? Control through pleasure can be just as chilling as control through pain.
Yeah, that idea of choosing our own cage. Unsettling. Okay, moving on. From engineered happiness to a world where choices are violently stripped away, especially for women, Margaret Atwood's The Handmaid's Tale.
A very powerful, very resonant book.
So what does this one tell us about, fundamental rights, how fragile they can be?
It throws us right into the Republic of Gilead. It's this near-future theocracy that's taken over the former United States, supposedly in response to environmental disaster and, crucially, a fertility crisis.
And the solution is horrific.
Deeply horrific. Fertile women, the handmaids, are forced into sexual servitude to bear children for the ruling class, the commanders.
And women's rights in general are just gone.
Completely obliterated, no reading, no owning property, no real choices.
Yeah.
Their names are even taken away. Offred, the narrator, means of Fred, belonging to her commander. It's an extreme, terrifying version of patriarchy built on distorted religious principles.
But Offred resists, doesn't she? Internally, at least.
Yes, that's key. We see Gilead through her eyes. The brutality, but also her resilience. Her memories of the past, her husband, her daughter, her own name, become these acts of inner rebellion. She clings to hope, gets involved carefully with the resistance movement.
So the warning here feels very immediate.
Extremely. Atwood explores patriarchy, religious extremism, how quickly rights can vanish, the big insight. It's a stark reminder of how easily societal norms can shift, how complacency can allow freedoms to be eroded, often under the guise of safety or morality. It really highlights the need for constant vigilance to protect those rights.
Vigilance.
Yeah.
Okay, speaking of protecting things, let's talk about knowledge itself, our next deep dive. Ray Bradbury's Fahrenheit 451.
Yeah, the firemen who burn books.
The irony is just inescapable, isn't it? Firemen meant to save, now destroy knowledge.
It's a brilliant, immediate hook. In this world, books are illegal, dangerous. Firemen hunt them down and burn them. Meanwhile, society is just glued to these giant wall screens, consuming mindless entertainment.
Discouraging any real thought.
Exactly. Yeah. Critical thinking is discouraged. Dissent is punished. It's control through ignorance and distraction.
And Guy Montag, our protagonist, he's one of these firemen. But he changes. What sparks that?
It's a gradual awakening, really. Meeting his young neighbor, Clarice, who asks questions, who notices the world, that plants a seed. Then witnessing an old woman choose to die with her books rather than live without them.
That must have been powerful.
Immensely. He starts secretly hoarding books, reading them. The conflict inside him just grows and grows. He sees the emptiness of his society, the danger of suppressing ideas.
And eventually he has to run for it.
He does. He becomes a fugitive, flees the city, and finds this group of outcasts living in the wilderness. Intellectuals who preserve books by memorizing them, they become the books.
Wow, living libraries.
Yeah. So Bradbury's warning goes beyond just censorship. It's about the dangers of conformity, instant gratification, letting technology and shallow entertainment replace deep thought and connection. It's incredibly prescient about media saturation, isn't it?
Absolutely. Feels more relevant than ever. Okay, we've seen control by fear, pleasure, theocracy, censorship. Our final stop is the contemporary surprise, Peter Debik's The Atlas Agenda.
Yes, the newcomer in our list.
And this one tackles memory itself. The idea of a world choosing to forget its past. That feels like a whole different level of control.
It really is. The Atlas Agenda imagines a world where governments have actively erased difficult, traumatic historical events from public memory. And the chilling part, it wasn't just imposed. Societies, to some extent, chose this. They traded freedom, maybe liberal democracy itself, for what feels like peace, but it's an illusion built on forgetting.
A deliberate mass amnesia for the sake of stability.
Wow. And the book explores this globally.
It does. The story moves between Morocco, Albania, Germany, showing different facets of this world built on forgetting. We follow two agents, kind of cast-offs, who are on this dangerous mission to uncover and restore the truth that was buried.
Which brings up a huge question, a massive one. Should the truth always be revealed, even if it's painful, even if it risks shattering the peace, the happiness people have built on that ignorance?
Right, the dilemma. Uncover the lies, face the potentially ugly reality, maybe grow stronger, or leave it buried, preserve the contentment, but live a lie.
That's the core tension. It digs deep into the nature of collective memory, its power, its danger. Can real progress, real strength be built on denial? What are the long-term costs of choosing to forget? It's intricate, philosophically dense, and a really compelling political commentary.
Sounds fascinating. What an incredible range of warnings across these 5 books.
It really is something. From Orwell's boot stamping on a human face forever to Huxley's perfectly conditioned contentment, Atwood's Gilead, Bradbury's book burning, Debik's engineered forgetting.
Different nightmares, but all point to the dangers of unchecked power and the loss of what makes us human, right? Freedom, truth, identity, memory.
Exactly. Diverse visions, but a unified warning, really, against these different flavors of control.
Well, that wraps up our deep dive for today. Seriously, all 5 of these novels, they are absolutely worth your time. If any of these sparked your interest, grab a copy, settle in. They're journeys that will definitely make you think.
And maybe leave you with this thought to chew on. We live in an age drowning in information, right? But also maybe drowning in disinformation, in noise, in ways to selectively forget or ignore. Are we more vulnerable or less to the kinds of controls these writers imagined? What's the real price of comfort, of stability, if it means sacrificing truth or freedom or even just acknowledging the messy parts of our own history? Are we always aware of the deals we might be making?